Discover the miraculous sanctuary, a transforming place of divine rest and redemption in Jesus. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the Israelites wandered restlessly in the arid wilderness. The dust stirred with their sighs, a collective yearning for rest and peace echoing beneath the unforgiving sun. They had experienced the mighty hand of God, leading them away from the oppressive chains of Egypt, yet their hearts ached under the weight of liberation, shackled by the haunting memories of servitude. In the thick silence of their despair, a voice pierced through the voice of God, that called Moses, not only to lead but to establish a sanctuary, a tabernacle where his glorious presence would dwell among them. Moses climbed the expanse of the holy mountain once more to receive these sacred instructions. He gathered the elders, and with renewed fervor, he spoke of God's design and purpose. "Let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them," he declared, his voice reverberating through the assembly, igniting hearts heavy with fear and doubt. Sparks of hope danced in the air as a divine longing awakened within them, a desire greater than their suffering. Among them was Bezalel, marked by divine craftsmanship, whose hands were gifted for artistry. As the words of Moses echoed, the very essence of creativity stirred within him, beckoning him to rise up. With courage unswerving, they worked under the relentless sun, gathering precious materials, gold, silver, and bronze, adorned with crimson and blue fabrics echoing the beauty of heaven. The air, thick with anticipation, bore the scent of leather and oil. Artisans united their skills, crafting beauty as a testament to their faith. Each stitch, every carving of wood, resonated with the promise of God. This was not just labor, this was worship. Yet, even amidst the creation of this sanctuary, whispers of doubt began to stir. "Why have you brought us here to die?" some cried, longing nostalgically for the comforts of their past life in Egypt. A heavy silence settled upon the assembly as anguish revealed itself. The struggle between past comforts and faith in God's provision became evident. In that tumultuous moment, the tabernacle stood as a beacon of God's promise, a refuge calling forth their beleaguered hearts toward rest, a divine assurance that they were not forsaken. "Moses, intercede for us," they pleaded. And like a shepherd, Moses fell before God, imploring him for mercy. In that sacred space, God's reassuring presence began to fill the air, reminding them of his faithfulness. "I will not abandon you," he assured Moses as the sacred site neared its completion. As anticipation built, every eye turned toward the soon-to-be sanctuary, hearts collectively yearning to behold the glory they had been promised. Then, the fateful day arrived. Bezalel and Oholiab placed the final touches, and the cloud of the Lord descended, engulfing the tabernacle in a radiant fog, filling it with glory beyond human comprehension. The people fell to their knees, awed and trembling in reverence, beholding the manifestation of God's presence. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Yet as the sacred site filled with divine glory, a sense of longing prevailed. Was this the rest they sought? The sanctuary merely a foreshadowing of something greater, an ultimate refuge yet to unfold in the hearts of the awaiting people? With heavy hearts and expectant spirits, they gazed upon the tabernacle, yearning for the day when ultimate redemption would come, when the final sanctuary, promised in the depths of God's love, would be revealed through Jesus Christ. Thus, the true journey of faith had only just begun. And it came to pass that the Israelites were encamped around the newly constructed tabernacle, their hearts alight with wonder as the glory of the Lord shone brightly within its confines. Day by day, they woke to the rising sun, and night by night, they were enfolded by the starry blanket of heavens, yet amongst this divine presence, they could not ignore the tumult within their hearts. Moses, as the faithful servant of God, often sought the Lord. He climbed Mount Sinai once again, face aglow, where he communed with the Almighty in thrice daily petitions. O Lord, how shall your people find peace amidst their fears? He implored. The skies darkened, and the voice like thunder answered, Tell them this, I will be their God and they shall be my people. Exodus 6 verse 7. While Moses sought divine clarity, the people below became restless. The brilliant cloud that rested upon the tabernacle was a reminder of reassurance, yet clouds can cast shadows, and shadows bore doubts. Where is this land flowing with milk and honey? They murmured among themselves. Have we journeyed to this desolation only to be abandoned? In the stillness of twilight, Bezalel crafted the intricate designs, each thread of tapestry woven with care, yet even he felt the weight of the murmurs. O Lord of hosts, let my hands work not for vain glory but for your everlasting promise, he prayed in silence. For he knew that the sanctuary was not just a shelter of skin and wood, it was their testament of faith, a physical embodiment of God's covenanted love. Meanwhile, the elders gathered at the mouth of the tabernacle, pondering the visions they had experienced. The Lord our God has brought us to the brink of something glorious, said Aaron, exuberantly leaning forward. Yet why do we see only despair? Suddenly, the air shifted, and a voice not as of thunder, yet powerful broke through, vibrating through their very bones. Be still, I affirm you, the voice of the Lord spoke. Let my covenant be your comfort. In your weariness, remember my purpose, I lead you forth not for ease, but to shape you into my nation, a light to the world. At this proclamation, a hush fell upon the gathered, each heart ascending in reverence, the light from the tabernacle gleaming brighter still. We will arise, declared an elder. We have witnessed his fire, we shall not turn back to the chains we once wore. Courage began to bubble among them like spring water in the desert. But as hope swelled, so too did the shadows of trepidation. Among the camp, there lingered a few those who remembered the spices of Egypt, the comforts nestled in their past. They whispered their discontentment, questioning the worth of the wilderness, the unknown way. If God is for us, why do we suffer? They cried in whispered tones, testing the resolve of many, even kindling seeds of rebellion. Moses, exasperated by the tide of dissent, called for a gathering. Hear me, O people of Israel. The God who saved you from Egypt still shields you now. Behold, your hardships are but the making of his glory to come. We shall walk in the truth of his covenant. His voice rang forth, laden with passion as he pointed toward the towering tabernacle whose glory remained like a consuming fire. Yet even as he spoke, doubts danced in the eyes of many. What is it, then, that lies beyond our trials? They found themselves pondering. The night deepened, those encamped reciting the words of Moses, and over the horizon could be heard the rumble of distant thunder. And in that moment of stillness before the storm, a holy whisper danced upon the air, igniting the hearts of those who sought more, who believed that greater wonders were unfolding beyond their present turmoil, a promise yet unspoken, a Redeemer unseen. Thus, they waited with bated breath, knowing that God's sovereign plan would at last be unveiled, shaping them not only as a people but as a beacon of hope for all nations yet to come. As dawn broke over the encampment, the sun's rays pierced through the ethereal mist, illuminating the faces of the Israelites. Yet amid the beauty of creation, burdens still lingered in their hearts. They cast hopeful gazes toward the tabernacle, yet shadows snaked through their spirits, doubts echoing like distant thunder. Moses descended from Mount Sinai, his countenance shining with the glory of the Lord, carrying 2 stone tablets engraved with the covenant, a testament of God's love and law. As he approached the congregation assembled outside the sacred tent, he felt the tension in the air. The murmurs intensified like the wind before a great storm. Listen to me, O people. Moses declared, raising his arms as if to draw them into the embrace of his words. God has not brought us to the brink of this good land to abandon us in the wilderness. He has promised us his presence. From the midst of the crowd, one voice emerged, bold and tinged with skepticism. If God is with us, why this hunger? Why do our children suffer? It was Korah, a man of stature among the people, whose dissent had begun to fester like an infectious sore. The people shifted uneasily, casting furtive glances at one another. Spirits drooped, and doubts morphed into urgent questions that clawed at the foundations of their faith. Moses felt the weight of their despair and turned his gaze upward, seeking strength from the Almighty. "O Lord," he cried out in desperate prayer, "how shall we remind them of your faithful promises? Your promises flow like honey, yet we taste only bitterness." His heart ached for a people that had witnessed signs and wonders yet still doubted. Then it was that the cloud which hovered over the tabernacle pulsed with a divine energy, radiating warmth that chased away the chill of resignation. The voice of the Lord resonated, filling the air like a song. "Moses, gather the people, and I shall reveal my wonders anew." With renewed vigor, Moses called for a gathering at the entrance of the tabernacle. "Come near, O Israel. The Lord your God has heard your cries. He will show us the path forward." As the people flocked to him, an electric anticipation surged through their ranks. Once assembled, the tabernacle's door opened wide, and from within streamed forth a light that was unlike any that had filled the eyes of mortal men. The flickering shadows danced in worship as the glory of the Lord enveloped the space, and the people fell to their faces, trembling in awe. In that moment, the Lord spoke through Moses with authority. "I will send bread from heaven for you, and in the evening quail shall come to cover your camp, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread." Exodus 16 verse 4. Each word poured like sweet nectar, quenching their thirst for assurance and hope. The crowd gasped, a mixture of disbelief and wonder spreading among them. The promise of provision stirred a spark of joy, like fire igniting dry timber. "He is with us," someone murmured, and others echoed the sentiment, voices rising in a chorus of faith strengthened. As the people rejoiced, the murmurs of rebellion began to dissipate. "We shall trust," they proclaimed with renewed resolve, lifting their eyes toward the tabernacle, their hearts enlightened by the assurance of God's provision. Yet beneath the surface, tension remained, whispers of discontent still swirling among the seams of the camp. A few continued to linger at the fringes, longing for the familiar comforts of Egypt. "How can we trust a God we cannot see? Our hearts ache for the spices of the past." Then Moses, sensing the unease, stood before them once more. "You have witnessed his power, yet I urge you do not turn back to the chains of what was, for the Lord is crafting a new story in our midst. Remember this, his plans for us are good, to give us a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Amid a chorus of shifting hearts, a promise loomed on the horizon. The air buzzed with expectancy, as they realized their journey was leading to more than survival. It was a journey toward revelation, a journey where their trials would echo the faithfulness of a God who is providently orchestrating the history of nations. And so they waited, hearts united, prepared to witness the unfolding of God's sovereign plan, a promise still veiled yet bursting with the assurance of divine destiny. Little did they know, the tapestry of their faith was being woven in ways yet unimagined, leading them into a destiny that would reverberate through generations, forging a kingdom that would one day welcome a Redeemer. And behold, as twilight approached, the Israelites camped by the foot of the mountain listened attentively. Their hopes hung upon the word of the Lord, for Moses had promised the provisions of heaven. The night fell softly, and a stillness enveloped the camp. As families gathered, the fires crackled, and the fragrance of burnt offerings lingered, a sweet aroma rising to the heavens. Yet, amidst the glow of flickering flames, a hushed conversation unfurled among the people. Korah, emboldened and unchecked, stirred once more. "Why should we settle for little when the land of milk and honey awaits us? This desert offers nothing but sorrow and sacrifice." His voice, like a serpent's hiss, twisted through the hearts of those who had wavered. Moses, sensing the brewing storm within the camp, carried the burden of his people before the Lord once more. "O God," he prayed, "you have promised to sustain us, yet discontent breeds like weeds among our ranks. How shall your will be done in a heart divided?" In that sacred moment, the cloud descended, thick and heavy, and the voice of the Lord rang out with clarity and firmness. "Gather the elders of Israel, for the time of remembrance is upon you. Prepare to witness the workings of my hand." Moses called forth the elders, their faces laden with worry but ignited by obedience. As they assembled, the air thickened with anticipation. "The Lord God has commanded us to stand firm," Moses implored. "To witness his provision is to trust in his everlasting covenant. We will see his goodness in the land of the living." The next morning dawned bright and fresh, as the dew upon the ground shimmered like diamonds. The people awoke with expectancy in their hearts. As the sun broke through the horizon, a rustle filled the air, a burst of fluttering wings, and the aroma of quail filled the camp. Gasps erupted as the quail descended, a gift from the heavens. And then, the dew that had settled began to shimmer with heavenly radiance, transforming into delicate flakes upon the earth. A soft wind swept through the camp, carrying the whispers of promise. The people rushed forth, bending low to gather the sustenance bestowed upon them. "What is it?" they wondered aloud, pointing to the strange, white substance blanketing the ground. And Moses, with his prophetic insight, answered, "This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat." Exodus 16 verse 15. In their disbelief, they found nourishment, a heavenly gift that would sustain them day by day. Among them, an urgency stirred in Korah's heart. The moment of divine revelation and miraculous provision stood in stark contrast to his doubts. Yet pride swelled within him. Who made Moses our judge? Shall we live at his command when we could return to Egypt's comforts? He murmured to the dissenters, who now grappled with the extent of their grievances. But Miriam, sister of Moses, lifted her voice above the clamor, declaring, "O Israel! The Lord has delivered us from the hand of the oppressor. We shall not forget the power of his deliverance. Dance with joy, for he has favored us with his manna." And her song wafted through the air, infecting hearts with the spirit of praise. As the days unfolded, the miraculous sustenance continued to fall each morning. The people ate, and their spirits were nourished, but shadows grew in the camp. Discontent lingered, like the haunting trails of smoke from burnt offerings. And thus the tensions escalated, leading to challenges that would weave deeper into the fabric of their journey, a journey that held ultimate significance in God's sovereign plan. For the Lord looked down upon his people, and within his heart lay the future, a promise that they were yet to comprehend. But what they did not know, echoed softly through the gathering clouds, is that every crumb of manna and every quail borne upon the wind would foreshadow a greater bread of life yet to be revealed, a Redeemer who would feed the hungry souls of all nations. And it came to pass that the days in the wilderness began to stretch like the weary sands beneath their feet. The Israelites, though nourished by the bread from heaven, grew restless, for the longing for comfort and security surged within them. The whispers of Korah stirred the discontent to a boiling point, echoing through the tents as shadows dimmed the hearts of even the faithful. "Let us rise against this leadership," Korah urged, his voice weaving through the multitude like a dark thread through a tapestry of trust. "Is it not true that all the congregation is holy, every one of them?" The echoes of his words found sympathetic ears, igniting flames of rebellion among those who had once danced with Miriam. Moses stood among them, the weight of their doubt pressing heavily upon his spirit. Humility clung to him as he fell upon his face, seeking the guidance of Almighty God. "O Lord," he cried, "the people are turned against me. Show your power and let the truth of your choice be made known." The Lord spoke to Moses from the cloud, his voice suffused with authority, "Gather Korah and his followers, for I shall show you who is set apart. Thus saith the Lord, tomorrow, take your censers and put fire therein, and let each priest present before me, and I will show whom I have chosen." Moses arose from the earth, his heart trembling yet filled with resolute faith. He gathered the assembly and warned them, "Depart from the tents of these wicked men, do not touch anything that belongs to them, lest you be consumed in their sin." The ground beneath them quaked as they retreated, and the morning sun cast an austere glow upon the scene. Korah, defiant and proud, stood with his company holding the fire pans, flame licking at the air. The elders observed in fear as Moses interceded, crying to the Lord, "O God, if these men die the natural death of all men, then you have not sent me. But if the Lord create a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them, then they shall know that these men have provoked the Lord." As the last words left his lips, the ground groaned in answer to the sacred command. A deep rumble echoed through the camp and the earth split open, a gaping mouth beneath Korah and his followers. With a great and terrible swiftness, they were engulfed, swallowed by the very earth they had defied. A gasp rippled through the congregation, and deep fear took hold of them, for they trembled at the display of God's judgment. "Surely, the Lord is in the midst of us," they exclaimed, their hearts gripped by both awe and dread. The fire pans of the rebels lay smoldering, and through the ashes, the Lord commanded that a sign be made, "Take these bronze censers and hammer them into a covering for the altar, they shall be a sign to the children of Israel that no stranger, who is not of the seed of Aaron, may come near to offer incense before the Lord." And so, a monument was erected, a reminder of the holiness of God and the cost of rebellion. The people trembled still, and murmurs of fear spread as they whispered, "What if the Lord turns against us as well?" But in the midst of their fear, the Lord spoke through Moses once more, "Return to the tent of meeting, for I shall further show you my ways and the covenant I have with you." As they stepped carefully back toward the sanctuary, the heavens opened, revealing a vision not yet conceived. For the Lord's purpose was at work, weaving through the tapestry of their story, for they were on the brink of understanding the promise of redemption was closer than they imagined. For in this day of divine revelation, echoed through the breadth of the heavens, a greater sanctuary shall rise, one that no sin can taint, and from its altar shall flow the waters of life eternal. And it came to pass that the Israelites, having witnessed the fearful judgment of the Lord, stood trembling in awe before the quickly closed earth, their hearts heavy with the weight of divine authority. The cries of anguish from Korah and his band still echoed in their souls, shaking the very foundation of their belief in God's chosen leader. Moses, with a heart burdened yet resolute, addressed the congregation, "Fear not, for the Lord is with us. He has shown his might, that we may learn to honor his holiness. Regain your courage, for in this wilderness, the Lord seeks to lead us to a land flowing with milk and honey." Yet the murmurs of doubt lingered among some, as the shadows of past glories and comforts in Egypt flickered in their minds. "Have we not come out of bondage only to face death in the wilderness?" they whispered one to another. The Lord, discerning the intentions of their hearts, spoke to Moses once more, saying, "Tomorrow, bring forth the rods of each leader of the tribes, let each man write his name upon his rod. Place them before the ark of the covenant, and I shall make known whom I have chosen to serve as priest." Obediently, Moses gathered the rods as the Lord commanded. He placed them before the Lord in the tent of meeting and waited upon him in silence, knowing that the truth would soon be revealed. When morning broke, the glory of the Lord shone brightly upon the tabernacle, and the assembled tribes came forth to witness the wonder of divine revelation. Moses entered the tent and beheld the rods there. Amid the simple wooden staffs, one stood out, blossom and fruit bursting forth, the rod of Aaron, the seed of Levi, marked by the hand of God. Moses returned to the congregation, joy lighting his countenance. "Behold the rod of Aaron. The Lord has chosen him and his sons to stand before him as priests. This is a sign unto you, that the ways of the Lord are unfathomable and his choice sovereign." The people beheld the flourishing rod, and their fears began to give way to reverence. Yet the Lord continued to speak through Moses, "Take heed, O Israelites. Each of you must dwell in holiness, for the Lord is a consuming fire. If you desire to draw near, you must do so with pure hearts, lest you provoke his wrath as did Korah." A weight of soberness fell over the assembly, and a profound realization stirred within them, that they stood at a pivotal moment, a junction in their journey toward the promise. They had been given a mediator, a chosen priest, through whom they could approach the living God. As the days passed, God commanded that offerings be made for the atonement of sins, instructing the people on the sacred rites that were to be performed. They learned to understand the intricate ways of worship and atonement, drawing nearer to the divine despite their unworthiness. With every passing day, hope began to rise. The people, once torn by rebellion, were learning the beauty of submission and trust in the Lord. But in the deep recesses of their hearts, a hidden longing remained. "What does the future hold for us?" they whispered, uncertain of their ultimate destiny. And such murmurs carried high upon the winds of the desert, for beyond the horizon lay another promise, one yet concealed but awaiting its appointed time. For I shall raise a new covenant, one not written on tablets of stone, but upon the hearts of men. From the lineage of David, a suffering servant shall come, whose sacrifice will redeem all nations. Thus, they listened, eager for the unfolding of the Lord's sovereign plan, drawing examples of faith from amidst the trials and learning that even in the wilderness, the way to life eternal was taking shape before their eyes. And it came to pass, after the rod of Aaron had blossomed, that the people of Israel were filled with awe and reverence for the God who had established his covenant with them. In every household, they spoke of the power shown and the truth of Aaron's priesthood, and their faith began to deepen amidst the harshness of wilderness life. The Lord commanded Moses, saying, Gather the people, for I shall speak to them again. Let them assemble at the tent of meeting, and there I shall reveal to them the statutes of their worship. So Moses called the people together, and they approached as eager children seeking wisdom from a father. Listen, O Israel, Moses proclaimed. The Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, has given you commandments for life and peace. And he began to recite the laws written by the finger of God upon the stone tablets, instructing the people how they were to live in the land that they would soon inherit. Honor your father and mother, he said, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God gives you. As the words flowed from his lips, hearts were stirred. The law did not merely bring forth commandments but an invitation to walk in the ways of holiness and to reflect the character of the Almighty. The people felt the weight of their responsibilities, teetering on the edge of reckoning and realization. Yet Moses continued, declaring, You shall have no other gods before me. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Each decree was like a lamp illuminating the darkness of their hearts, showing them the way to peace and communal harmony, yet the echoes of distrust still lingered in some, and questions rose like a shadow over their hope. Can we truly enter this land? They murmured among themselves. Will the giants there not crush us, as we are grasshoppers in their sight? In that moment, as Moses stood with the weight of God's decree upon his heart, the Lord spoke again, saying, Moses, I will prove my sovereignty, prepare the hearts of the people, for their trials will teach them faith, and their fears shall be met with my faithfulness. Thus, God instructed Moses to send 12 men, one from each tribe, to spy out the land of Canaan. With high expectation, they journeyed forth, filled with the promise of abundance that flowed like rivers of milk and honey. Yet only the Lord knew the hearts of men, and whether they would return with courage or trepidation. Days turned to weeks, and the spies surveyed the land. They beheld towering cities and bountiful harvests, but they also encountered fortified walls and fierce giants. When they returned, a spirit of fear enveloped the camp as 10 of the spies reported, The land devours its inhabitants. We were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we are in theirs. Caleb and Joshua, however, stood resolute, exclaiming, Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the people, gripped by their fears, lifted their voices and wept through the night, questioning the very promise that had been extended unto them. In their doubt, they began to plot against Moses and Aaron, seeking to return to Egypt from whence they had come. It was then that the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle before all the children of Israel. God, in his righteous anger, declared, How long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe in me, despite all the signs I have done among them? In that divine revelation, they felt the weight of their rebellion and the cost of their distrust. Yet even in this moment of wrath, grace awaited, for God planned to show them not only judgment but also mercy, the giving of a new generation that would possess the land. This would be a lesson etched in their hearts, one of faith born through trial, a striving towards the promise that lay ahead. For the Lord spoke yet again, Your children shall possess the land, and I will raise up for them a leader who will guide them into their inheritance, for my covenant is faithful, and my promises endure. Thus, the path of redemption began. To weave through the fabric of sorrow and doubt, calling forth a new chapter that would echo through the ages, revealing a deeper truth hidden within the shadows of their journey, a truth that would lead to the ultimate deliverer, who would fulfill all promises and bring all peoples to the sanctuary of divine grace. And it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the cries of my people and know their distress. Henceforth ye shall make the path clear for them, that they may see how to trust in me despite their fears." Moses was troubled by the rebellion of the people. In his heart, he clung to the promise that God would be with them. "O Lord," he interceded, "if you deal thus with this people, forgive their sin, but if not, blot me out of your book that you have written." And the Lord responded, "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. But as for you, go, lead the people to the place of which I have spoken. My angel shall go before you." Yet even as God extended his mercy, he declared, "Nevertheless, as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all those men who have seen my glory and the signs that I did in Egypt and in the wilderness yet have put me to the test these 10 times and have not heeded my voice, they shall by no means enter the land which I swore to their fathers." The very air was thick with the weight of judgment and sorrow. With trembling hearts, the people listened to God's decree. Yet the Lord spoke comfort, "But your little ones, who you said would be victims, I will bring in, and they shall know the land which you have rejected." Then the spies who had brought forth the evil report were struck down by a plague. Those who believed remained steadfast, while those who sought to return to Egypt were left to wander in the wilderness, their feet treading the paths of failure. Thus, the tale of disobedience became a haunting echo through the encampment, and the sorrow of their hearts bore witness to the consequences of their disbelief. Caleb and Joshua, filled with the Spirit of God, grew in stature and strength among the people. They spoke boldly, encouraging the weary souls. "Do not be afraid. The Lord is with us. If he delights in us, he will bring us into this land flowing with milk and honey." Their voices rang with a divine assurance that pierced the thick veil of doubt. Yet the people, in their struggle, did not listen. Instead, they resolved to take matters into their own hands, declaring, "Let us go up and fight." But they found no favor with the Lord, for he had warned them, saying, "Do not go up, for I am not among you, lest you be defeated before your enemies." As the sun set behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the land, the people's hearts sank into despair, and a heaviness enveloped their camp. Unyielding fear gripped them as they sought another way. In their hearts, they were cast adrift, yearning for a past they could not reclaim. Then God's presence came forth again, a protective cloud enveloping the tent of meeting. And the Lord spoke, "Listen carefully, O Israel. I am a God of mercy and guidance. My plans for you are not of fear but of hope, to draw you closer to me, that you may know me as I truly am." But God had a secret, one that twinkled below the surface. "Even now, I am raising a leader who will restore your courage and shall lead you into a covenant that I shall establish forever with my people." And in this despair, the promise glimmered with an eternal light, echoing through the ages, beckoning to hearts weary and longing for restoration, whispering, "For I will not forsake my own." Thus, the land of promise stood as an invitation, woven into the ugliness of their doubt, yet set apart by the grace woven through the heart of God's plan, leading each moment closer to the day when the true and ultimate deliverer would come forth, for through him would all fear be cast out, and every heart be reformed into the likeness of divine love. And it came to pass, after the cloud of the Lord had lifted and the people remained in their sorrow, that Moses sought communion with God. He entered the tent of meeting once more, and there he found solace and counsel. "O Lord," he cried, "you have declared your heart to me, yet the people still stumble upon their path. Show me the way forward that we may not perish in this wilderness." And the Lord spoke to him, saying, "Gather the people together, and let them know that my covenant remains firm. For I will provide a way, even amidst their rebellion. Speak to the children of Israel, in your days of trial and testing, I shall provide a sanctuary to rest your weary souls. For I am not a God who forsakes, but I am their refuge and strength." Moses obeyed, calling the assembly to listen to the words of their God, who remained steadfast. As he recounted God's faithfulness, their hearts began to stir, ignited by a flicker of hope. He declared, "Fear not, for the Lord has heard your cries. He shall lead you to springs of living water, and you shall hunger no more." And as he spoke, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and visions danced before their eyes, a land flowing with milk and honey, soaring mountains and fertile fields, a place of abundance where his presence would dwell among them. The people, seeing this hope, began to gather their thoughts, though fear lingered still in their hearts. Caleb and Joshua, sensing the shifting atmosphere, took their place among the crowd, their countenance shining with conviction. "Let not your hearts be troubled," they proclaimed, "for the Lord is among us. We have not been abandoned, our hearts are alive with his promise." Yet even then, as their voices surged with fervor, the murmurs of discontent echoed from the wicked among them. "We cannot trust what we cannot see," they declared. "Let us return to Egypt, to the safety of our chains rather than face the unknown." Moses fell upon his face, imploring God, "O Lord, do you not see the division among your people? Will you allow this rebellion to grow? Sustain us with your might, and save us from our own hearts." The Lord answered, "I will act swiftly. There shall be a day when they shall see my hand at work in their midst. I shall give them a sign, that through the trials of this wilderness, my glory may be revealed." And so it was that the Lord commanded Moses, saying, "Gather for me an offering from the people a portion of their wheat, their oil, their finest fruits. For in their obedience, I shall yield a harvest of faith that will sustain them." With renewed strength, Moses proclaimed the word of the Lord, and an offering was gathered. Amidst the gathering, the hearts of the people began to soften, they remembered the goodness of God. Then the Lord said to Moses, "You shall bring the offering to me, and I will set it apart as a sign of my covenant with my people. Look now to the future, for I will establish a place where my presence will dwell, and there I will meet with you." Moses stood in awe, for he grasped the magnitude of what was to come. Within the offering, God revealed a sacred promise, a divine sanctuary where broken hearts would be healed, and weary souls would be refreshed. As the sun dipped into the horizon, casting golden rays upon the heart of the people, Moses lifted his arms, proclaiming, "The Lord is with us still, he shall bring us into a covenant of hope." And so, as the echoes of their obedience resounded through the camp, a profound mystery lingered in the atmosphere, a sense that God was preparing a way not just for a generation, but for all nations, through the promise that would one day come forth, for beyond the wilderness lay the demonstration of his ultimate deliverance, a deliverer yet to be revealed. And it came to pass, after a long and arduous journey through the wilderness, the people of Israel found themselves gathered at the foot of the promised land, where God's divine favor loomed, shimmering like light on the horizon. The trials had fashioned their faith and stripped away the shackles of doubt. Hearts once weighed down by rebellion now pulsed with anticipation for the fulfillment of the promises they had long awaited. Moses stood before them, the curtain drawn back on the narrative of their lives, their faith forged in the fires of experience. "Hear, O Israel! The Lord your God has led you 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and to test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not." Deuteronomy 8 verse 2. Those words echoed among the crowd, a stark reminder of their journey. "Now behold," he continued, his voice steady as he regarded the land that lay ahead. "This land is exceedingly good, a gift bestowed upon us by our faithful God. We stand here not of our own merit but by his grace. Go forth, for the time has come. Covenant renewal begins today." The people, hearts alight with reverence, cried out in unison, "We will carry forth the name of the Lord. We will possess the land." And Caleb and Joshua rose amongst the throng, beacon of strength and valor. "Let us advance, for the Lord is with us. We are more than conquerors, his hand will guide us." Their fervor ignited a flame within the assembly, each soul kindled by the assurance of God's promises. Yet still lingering were shadows of uncertainty. What if they rise against us? What of the giants in the land? Some lamented. But Moses, with unwavering faith, raised his staff toward the heavens, reminding them, "Remember the mighty hand of the Lord, remember the miracles he has done. For the same God who delivered us from Egypt shall deliver us yet again." He led them in a prayer of consecration, invoking the name of the Lord. "O God, who has caused us to walk through the valley, grant us courage and wisdom as we tread upon the unfamiliar ground. Let no fear consume us, for our strength resides in you." The Lord answered, his presence enfolding the assembly, and as they lifted their voices, he commanded, "Prepare yourselves. You shall cross the Jordan and take possession of the land. For I am going before you as a consuming fire. The divine assurance resonated through the camp like a holy wind, dispelling the fog of fear with clarity of purpose. With hearts filled and spirits emboldened, the Israelites approached the banks of the Jordan, the waters flowing swiftly before them. The mighty river seemed daunting yet echoed a profound promise within. Put your feet in the water, the Lord instructed through Moses. And watch as I part the waters before you. As they stepped forth, miraculous obedience sparked as the waters receded, a pathway of hope unfurling beneath their feet. The priests bore the Ark of the Covenant, leading the way into the depths and declaring the faithfulness of God. The waters stood like walls, and as the last foot stepped onto dry ground, the entire nation followed, crossing into the abundant life God had prepared. On the other side, with the sun gleaming on the rugged land, they erected a memorial of 12 stones, a testimony to future generations. These stones shall be a sign among you, declared Joshua, that when your children ask, what do these stones mean? You shall tell them of the faithful works of the Lord. As the dusty day waned and a gentle breeze swept across the new frontier, they stood united, no longer wanderers, but inheritors of the promise. They savored the moment, the taste of milk and honey drawing closer, thick with the anticipation of divine love fulfilled. Days turned into years as they settled the land, always remembering the covenant and the laws inscribed upon their hearts. Weaving through their trials, each moment taught them resilience and strength, refining a people destined to be a light to the nations. In those sacred years, a lineage emerged: prophets, kings, and eventually, from the house of David, a child was born in humble Bethlehem. Jesus, the Redeemer, the true bread of life, embodied every promise made, fulfilling covenant love and drawing all men unto the divine presence made manifest. And thus, the wanderers became the faithful, and their history unfolded the sanctuary of the Lord among his people, where every heart could find rest. The call to characteristic faith and devotion resounded through generations, an echo of hope that beckons even now. So, dear friends, let us awaken our hearts, for the promise remains alive. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word, that it may continue to stir your spirit towards faith and obedience. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Like and share this powerful testimony of God's goodness with at least 5 friends who need to hear the truth today. Comment below your reflections on how this story has impacted your faith, and let us encourage one another in the journey towards our ultimate deliverance. Don't wait even one more second to share the good news, for in sharing, we testify to God's unfailing love.